Hello, good morning, and welcome aboard to AM News. My name is Denise Apomaji. In our very first story, fresh data from the Gender Center for Empowering Development has indicted political parties for sidelining qualified candidates in favor of those with financial resources, locking out women, youth, and other capable aspirants from the political arena. Ghana since 1992 has successfully conducted numerous elections, with the most recent 2024 polls requiring aspirants to pay 100,000 Ghana cedis to file for president. According to the report, these gaps have pushed out minorities, including women and youth from the political space. We'll get details of the report shortly. First, listen to 2024 parliamentary candidate for the MPP in Adenta, Akosia Menu, and former CBP chairperson, who explained the challenges aspirants face under these conditions.
The highest filing fee I paid in the CPP was 40,000 Ghana cedis. That was the last election. That was in 2000 when I wanted to contest as the national chairperson. When I contested as the vice chairperson, I think I paid 30,000. And I asked myself, 30,000, a party that is not near power, let me put it that way. And I'll go and put that kind of money into an election. What am I going to get from it?
In Greater Accra is West, somebody will probably ask for rent, and it's not even up to 2,000 cedis up somewhere. And down here, if they ask for rent, they are asking you for, they look at you and boldly ask you for 20,000 cedis or 30,000 cedis in rent. I had a friend who was contesting in the heat of a campaign. One of the campaigners said he's tired of his one-bedroom apartment and wants to move into a two-bedroom apartment.
Now, the report also raises concerns over the high cost of contesting elections, noting that this creates barriers for key groups, including women and youth, limiting their participation in the democratic process. Executive Secretary for Gender Center for Empowering Development, Esther Teria, tells Joy News the research has become necessary due to the marginalization of the minority groups in the electoral process.
Systemic change, and it does not have to happen from the government level, but rather we are calling for it to happen at the political party level, because they are the engineers. The Electoral Commission have said it. If you look at their mandate, you know, it's not as elaborate as we think they should be doing. And so now that we are going through the constitutional review, we also recommend that the government the government looked at the review report and see where the Electoral Commission's mandates can be expanded, where they can be given more power to curtail some of these things, because in Ghana we do not have separate entity that oversees political party. And of course, our anti-corruption act, the special prosecutor mentioned that he can't even go into some of the things that the parties are doing because he doesn't have the mandate, you know. So we need to expand some of these things and then curtail it.
Now, as the world marks World Cancer Day, cancer statistics from the Ashanti region show a worrying upward trend across several cancer types. Data from the Ashanti Regional Health Directorate indicate sharp increases in breast, cervical, prostate, and other cancers between 2021 and 2025. Breast cancer cases alone rose from 203 in 2021 to a projected 937 in 2025, despite a brief dip in 2023. Cancer cases, which peaked at 522 in 2024, are expected to decline to 406 in 2025. However, Ashanti Regional Health Director Dr. Fred Adomako-Boateng says the figures remain a stark reminder of the urgent need for sustained awareness, early detection and action. My colleague Ohimi Teria has more in the following report.
Breast cancer cases recorded a sharp rise from 203 in 2021 to a staggering 937 projected cases in 2025. Despite a slight decline to 209 in 2023, the numbers surged dramatically in 2024, suggesting a worrying trend that calls for immediate action. Ashanti Regional Health Director Dr. Fred Adomako-Boateng revealed cervical cancer cases saw a decline from 406 cases in 2025 after cases peaked at 522 in 2024, but insists there's a stark reminder of the need for awareness. Prostate cancers also reduced to 1,139 in 2025 from 1,208 cases in 2023. But cases of other cancers recorded an increase from 4,716 cases in 2021 to a projected 18,030 in 2025. Dr. Adumakum Boateng told a World Cancer Day event the rising number of cancer cases calls for a public health awareness, especially on early detection and diagnosis. He wants parents to pay particular attention to their children's health by being on the lookout for early warning cancer signs.
Cancer remains a growing public health challenge in Ghana, and it contributes significantly to premature morbidity and mortality. Available national and global estimates indicate that over 24,000 new cancer cases, and more than 15,000 cancer-related deaths occur every year in the country. In 2021, 1,190. In 2022, 1,066. In 2023, 1,208. And then in 2024, 1,013. And in 2025, 1,139. If you look at all other cancers, in 2021, we had 4,716. In 2022, we had 8,764. In 2023, we had 11,753. And in 2024, we had 16,053. And in 2025, 18,030. As we mark World Cancer Day, it's important to remember that cancer does not only affect adults. And the wild signs vary depending on the type of cancer. Key warning signs to watch for, including a painless new lump or swelling, unexplained weight loss, persistent fatigue, changes in bowel or bladder habits. What are some of the signs and symptoms that you see in our children? Unexplained pain, bones and joints. They won't allow you to touch any of these or of those areas. Unexplained swelling or lumps. It can either be in the stomach, what we typically term as abdomen. It can be at the neck, or it can be at the armpit, what we call the axilla. They have unusual bleeding and bruising, something small, and we see blood under the skin or bleeding. It can be the gum, it can be any part of the body. They have at times very tiny white spots. And fever. No matter what you do, they have this persistent fever, persistent night sweats. Weight loss, you give them something they will never eat. In children, they can have changes in vision, and at times you can see something white on the pupil, what we call the white pupil, or spot in the eye. And at times they squint, as we see or hen baby. He's looking at here. But all these are some of the things that will trigger for you to go and look for diagnosis.
Meanwhile, health authorities are advocating for improved public education and community action to bring hope and resilience in the fight against cancer. From Kumasi, for Joy News, Ohimenteria report.
And still in the Ashanti region, the Health Directorate has joined the rest of the world in marking International Epilepsy Awareness Month with renewed calls for stronger advocacy and improved care for individuals living with epilepsy. Health officials say the campaign is shifting from awareness creation to practical action to reduce stigma and improve access to treatment in the region.
Speaking at an awareness event in Kumasi, the Ashanti Regional Health Director, Dr. Fred Adumakum Boateng, described epilepsy as one of the most misunderstood neurological conditions in the region. Speaking on the theme, moving from awareness to action, he disclosed that about 52 million people worldwide are living with epilepsy, with about 1% of the region's population affected. However, many persons living with epilepsy continue to face stigma, discrimination and neglect, largely due to belief that the condition is a spiritual curse or contagious,
making it one of the most common neurological disorders. About 80% of people with epilepsy live in the low and middle income countries. Epilepsy remains a significant yet highly misunderstood neurological disorder in our region. With an estimated 1% of the Ghanaian population living with this condition, it represents hundreds of thousands of people. It is crucial that we address the 85% treatment gap that still persists. Too often, people living with epilepsy in the Ashanti region are subjected to stigma, discrimination, and neglect, driven by the false belief that it's a spiritual curse.
Let me now take you to the Central Region. The Metropolitan Chief Executive of Cape Coast, George Justice Arthur, has called on the government to increase the common fund allocation to the metropolis, describing the current amount as inadequate and unfair. Speaking during a sword-cutting ceremony for common fund projects in the Cape Coast North constituency, the MCE noted that the Cape Coast metropolis has two constituencies that both require equal development support. He therefore appealed to the government to review the allocation to ensure balanced and adequate funding for projects across the area.
Metropolitan Chief Executive of Cape Coast, George Justice Arthur, broke ground for the construction of classroom blocks and an ultra-modern CHIPS compound in selected communities within the Cape Coast North constituency. He also commissioned a police station as part of efforts to implement his 8-year development plan. Speaking to the media, Mr. Arthur appealed to government to increase the metropolis's allocation from the Common Fund to support development projects in the two constituencies within the metropolis.
Because of the dynamic of this constituency, this metro, where we have two major constituencies, we are pleading with the government to expand or do something in respect to our common fund for us so that we'll be able to get more projects for the good people of Cape Coast. We are going to have two chip compounds for these two constituencies. We expect that each of the constituencies will have at least two chip compounds, at least 20 mechanized borehole, 10 for each constituency. So anything that will say at least 10, at least 2, at least 3, at least 4, then it means it will go for each of the constituencies within the metropolis. That's why we are pleading with government, we are pleading with Parliament, we are pleading with Ministry of Finance, we are pleading with the District Assembly Common Fund Administrator to actually do the needful for us.
The Metropolitan Director of Health, Dr. Samuel Kwabnofosu, described the construction of the CHIPS compound as a major boost to healthcare delivery in the area.
We are impressed as a directorate the effort the Assembly and the Honorable MP have put in the realization of this CHIPS compound. It was one of our earmark facilities, and since we are seeing it, it's a good sign that the health of Cape Coast will improve.
The Metropolitan Director of Education, Thomas Kofi, also highlighted the importance of the new classroom blocks.
The project has a lot of significance for education in the metropolis, because if you look at the enrollment figures in the school, it's already on the higher side. You get it, giving an indication that the classrooms are very congested. And so this project is going to give the opportunity for the metro or the school to decongest the classrooms so that at least effective teaching and learning can take place.
The Member of Parliament for Cape Coast North, Dr. Kwame Namintanyako, urged residents to cultivate a strong maintenance culture and advised the youth to be mindful of their actions.
I think that gradually Ghanaians are being enlightened when it comes to the culture of maintenance. And I'm sure those that we will bereft these particular edifices to would also want to do same. We also caution the guys or the youth around here. Even though we have a police station here, we are hoping they will not be there. So they should also live upright so that we don't get them locked up all the time.
From Cape Coast, Abigail Lesol Nkoma reports for Joy News.
Well, the Central Regional Minister, Ekopinyi Ochie-Drama, has underscored the need for stronger collaboration between government and traditional leaders to accelerate local and regional development. Speaking at an engagement with MMDCs and chiefs on the government's oil palm plantation project in the Central Region, Mr. Drama noted that such partnerships help address critical challenges while mobilizing the resources needed to drive growth across communities.
According to the Central Regional Minister, Ekopinyi Ochie-Drama, the engagement with traditional authorities and MMDCs in the region was to pick thoughts on how best to sustain government's oil palm plantation projects through collaborations with traditional leaders.
What government wants to do now is to not just to have an oil palm plantation, but to have a project that will include having a mill that will, actually process the oil palm product that we'll be having. So it is important that we bring Nananom on board. In many instances where you can say that government projects fail, sometimes due to the fact that we do not engage Nananom from the beginning. So you get to the middle before you see how important. Recently, we're having issues of how, concernment about, mining and forests and what have you are given. According to the Nananom, they will just be at home and somebody will bring a document to indicate that they've been given this portion to mine and what have you. I think that it's something that worries them. We believe that with Nananom from the beginning, if they are herders, they will help us to clear, and then we'll let them understand what we're going to do so that the project will become a success.
The minister also notes that working together with the leaders will help address challenges, highlighting their readiness to provide lands for the success of the project.
They have also shown their interest, indicating that they have lands, and if they come and the test shows positive that this land can be used for the project, why not? By whichever means of acquisition that government deems fit, depending on individual cases, they are ever ready to support the government to acquire this land for the project, for they think that it's going to give the youth employment.
The president of the Central Regional House of Chiefs, Odefo Amoakwa Boidu VIII, while addressing constant competition between government and traditional leaders, called for togetherness in working towards the development of the projects in the Central Region. Since independence, many governments view traditional rulers as competitors, with both factions struggling for power. But as traditional leaders are only looking for the development of our country and realizing the president's vision, which was shared with the Central Regional House of Chiefs at our end-of-year meeting. We are happy with this meeting with MMDCs and Nananom to discuss how we can benefit from this plantation project and drive development in the region. From Cape Coast, Abigail Lisel Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
It's now time for some business news. The Ahanta Pili, Samuel Kujibrace, will bring us that right after this breather.
All right, let's do business updates now. And Ghana could lose up to $21.3 billion in economic value and as many as 435,000 jobs over the next 5 years if urgent policy action is not taken to counter intensifying competition from neighboring countries. The Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana has warned. The following report has more.
Ghana risks losing up to $21.3 billion in economic value and as many as 435,000 jobs over the next 5 years if urgent policy action is not taken. This warning comes from the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana following Benin's launch of an aggressive investor attraction strategy aimed at manufacturers across the West African sub-region. In a media statement dated February 9th, the chamber indicates that Ghana is already losing ground, with factories relocating or scaling down operations in favor of countries offering lower taxes, cheaper electricity, and faster business processes. According to the Chamber's technical analysis, between 395 and 555 factories could relocate or shut down between 2026 or 2030, with agro-processing accounting for about 40% of the affected facilities. The chamber also projects between $4 and $6.6 billion in foreign direct investment could be diverted from Ghana alongside declining tax revenues and rising unemployment. It warns that the situation is no longer theoretical, pointing to ongoing factory closures and the migration of skilled professionals.
Well, the Africa Center for Energy Policy is proposing power sector reforms to deal with some systemic challenges that have crippled the effectiveness of the Energy Sector Levy Act, despite several amendments by government in the last decade of its implementation. The think tank has noted structural problems hindering effective management, noting how its securitization and indefinite extension have caused a failure to service the principal energy sector debt. Beyond the reforms, the think tank is suggesting prudent means of tackling the year-on-year losses in the sector.
Has been restructured several times, and I mean, it's not really about restructuring the levy, it's about dealing with systemic issues. And as I mentioned, 2015, when ESLA was introduced, we had losses of about 23%, I think distribution losses of 23%. 2025, March, thereabout, we are recording losses in the 30s, right? So what kind of restructuring can you still do? What kind of new arrangements can you still do? How much can you still add to the frame, you know, without dealing with the losses? You still recover, you still get a lot of under recoveries, you still get a lot of structural defects, so in the phase where structural issues are not dealt with, you know, you will continue to do restructuring, but that may not necessarily solve the power sector challenges.
That's all in Business Update. Back to you, Denisha.
Thank you. Hantapili, so could you breathe?
I think your top sort of goes with my tie.
I know, we're matching, are we not? Yeah. We should take a picture after.
We have to. and I love it when you call me a Hantapele.
Come on now.
It's a sweet name.
And that's it for AM News. My name is Zenitia Pomaje. For more news, do log on to myjonline.com. Up next is sports. Do enjoy the rest of the show. Have a lovely day.